here is Donald Trump, her husband. He is signing or I should say, after a signing of an executive order that would deal with the crisis that we have on our campuses of.
Thank you, Weinstein Brothers.
Of invitations to right-wing speakers. And of course, I'm being facetious. There is every reason to believe that this is not a real crisis, that it almost decidedly could not be a crisis, almost definitionally. But it just so happens that 2018 was one of the lowest years of disinvitations over in a decade. But be that as it may, here's Donald Trump. And I wonder, I don't think this executive order is even constitutional. When you talk about protecting free speech, this seems to be fundamentally an assault on free speech. Here is Donald Trump, clip number 3.
Today we're delivering a clear message to the professors and power structures trying to suppress dissent and keep young Americans, and all Americans, not just young Americans, like Ellen and Caitlin and Polly, from challenging rigid far-left ideology. People who are confident in their beliefs do not censor others. We don't want to censor others. They welcome free, fair, and open debate, and that's what we're demanding. Under the policy I am announcing today, federal agencies will use their authority under various grant-making programs to ensure that public universities cherish the First Amendment and First Amendment rights of their students, or risk losing billions and billions of dollars of federal taxpayer dollars. Every year, the federal government provides educational institutions with more than $35 billion in research funding. All of that money is now at stake. That's a lot of money. They are going to not have to like your views a lot, right? We will not stand idly by and allow public institutions to violate their students' constitutional rights. If a college or university doesn't allow you to speak, we will not give them money. It's very simple.
Now, I want to take this seriously for a moment, because
It's serious.
in what possible instance is there a college where they say you cannot speak? Like what? I'm trying to even think of what would constitute that type of violation.
How I interpret it, it's usually when some college conservative group invites a Nazi to come speak, like Richard Spencer or something. Which, as far as I know, has any college actually ever, administration ever actually stopped Richard Spencer from speaking?
I don't know that you can stop him from speaking. You can say hey, we're not going to make available to you the Blandon Hall, and we're not going to provide AV services for you, and we're not going to pay you money to come and speak. It's conceivable that in certain instances, hey, we can't provide security for this, so we don't want it to happen on campus. But these are not first of all, these are not their students, right? Like other speakers. But every single day in the Social Activities Council, they're saying, we're not going to book Todd Barry. I want to book Tom Rhodes. Could Tom Barry, Todd Barry, could Jello Biafra sue all these people because he hasn't gotten a booking at certain college? I don't understand. What is the free speech principle here? How are these people preventing any speech?
Yeah. Well, I mean, to my knowledge, there's no college that has, built into its rules and regulations some line that says, by the way, here's the views you can't express.
Yeah, it's very strange. This calculation of free speech that go. I mean, I think you can't discriminate, on channels that are open to everyone, right? Like if you have, like you couldn't like deny maybe certain groups from being there unless they were considered like maybe full-on hate speech or could be inciting in their presence. But I'm not quite sure I understand even the dynamic, but what it does is it lays down some type of fake predicate, right?
Yep.
Like this is going to be cited as a way of pulling funds. And really now what we're going to see is the government is going to use its funds to force speech on schools. And we already know in the Supreme Court, they've already ruled, like this is what the whole Janus case is about. You cannot force, you cannot use your power to force speech. And that is what supposedly was the basis of the Janus case. You can't take money to a union where money is fungible, even if it's paying for their lawyers, because that frees up other money for them to go out and engage in political speech.
Well, I just looked it up, and colleges have canceled appearances by Richard Spencer in particular, usually due to safety concerns.
Safety concerns,
Like
right.
I just looked up the University of Florida canceled his appearance due to safety concerns.
Not out of a specific policy.
Yeah, so what this order would do basically is to say, screw your safety concerns. You're going to have this event anyway, regardless of the potential violence that ensues, or else you're going to lose your funding.
Well, I'm less concerned about that, to be honest, than the broader implications that it might lead into. Because I remember when David Horowitz was going around college campuses when I was an undergraduate. He was a madman, crazy person with basically his parents were Stalinists, and his whole life was reacting against them and getting funded by right-wing sugar daddies. And he had a thing called it was something like the Academic Bill of Rights, and essentially it was a demand on what professors could not say or express in class. So I think way bigger than like who comes on campus or doesn't is the implications of this for people who might hold. Well, Juan Cole's a good example.
Well, I was just going to say, Professor
go ahead.
Juan
There you go.
Cole was
Yeah.
up for a position, a tenured position, and I think it was Yale.
That was at Yale.
And it was, I don't know if it was APAC specifically, but it was certainly those type of folks who basically, after he had already been, I think, offered
He had
the job
in hand.
forced the school to roll back their offer to him. And so, I mean, this is...
and Horowitz was, just to be clear, like, it was super specific. Like, I wouldn't go anywhere, like, but my friend Ben Burgess is an example, right? He makes a point. He's like, I teach logic. I don't necessarily express my politics in class. But which, whatever, give or take, doesn't matter. I think anybody should be able to express their political preferences when they teach. I think that's fine. Certainly made learning from people more interesting. But the stuff Horowitz was trying to get to was, like, literally, like, teaching that objective facts, like the Constitution was an objectively pro-slavery document until it was changed. That's a leftist opinion,
right,
versus an objective historical and legal reality. So the game here is that, and it's going to be serious for public educators at universities in the all-powerful humanities departments, which, as we all know, dominate modern higher education.
Meanwhile, Donald Trump also expressed his real concern about the student debt crisis in this country. As you know, Donald Trump intimately aware of this issue of student loan debt. Well, not so much student loan debt, more like debt. And so far, debt has been pretty good to this guy. Let's listen in.
Today's action is just the beginning of our efforts to protect free speech and advance our students' rights agenda. What I've been witnessing over the last long period of time, long before I became president, what I've been witnessing is outrageous. This order will also empower students with vital information about the value of the programs they take on and having to do with debt, student loan debt. I'm going to work to fix it because it's outrageous what's happening. You're not given that fair start. You're too far down. It's not right, and we're going to work very, very hard to get it fixed. But we're going to start with 43 million people in the United States are currently working to pay off student loans, and we'll be talking about that very soon. We're going to work on that very soon. I've always been very good with loans, and I love loans. I love other people's money. We're going to work on it.
Well, as a victim of student loans, I find that both extremely funny and terrifying because I know when they look at it, they're going to find a way of making people in mine and much worse situations lives even much more difficult.
We're going to double how profitable these loans are to us.
There's a lot of it because they're getting hosed by these private companies, but there's so much being left on the table in terms of interest rates.
We got a new plan. Here's the plan. We're going to have your loan. We're going to have your interest, but all the money's going to go to my family.
Yeah. It's called the Trump value.
Jubilee.
It's called the Trump University. We're going to bring that back. And you learn to not take loans.
sort of feel like he's insincere on his agenda to tackle the student loan issue.
It's the first I'm hearing about it.
I feel like it's probably an insincere.
He's going to need to wheel out some fake populism issues that he can pretend in 2020 on after, totally lying, obviously, about Medicare and Social Security.
All right.